welcome back to Gapey's Garden. Today I wanted to give you a little tour of what I've got planted so far in the garden this year. And this is the onion and garlic bed. So I've got these onions here that I started from seed in January. I've got some scallions here in the front, and then this is some yellow of Parma in the back. And it does look like I've lost a few of those. I'm seeing some spaces where there should be onions and there's not, but we've had some really hot weather and now we're getting some really rainy weather. So here's the garlic and it's looking really nice. And I've got some lettuce planted here. This is outrageous romaine, and I planted that several weeks ago, and it's doing pretty good despite having a lot of hot weather. So I've got some planted over on this edge and then also on the other side. And I've got a mix of hardneck and softneck garlics in here, probably I think 4 or 5 different varieties. Then we have the chives that are just starting to bloom, so they're looking really good. I like to make a chive blossom vinegar with those, so I'm going to wait probably next week I'll chop some of those off and make some of that vinegar. It's really good. And then over here we've got some more onions. This is the Elsa Craig, and again I've lost a few of those too. I do have some extras of these, so I'll go and get some of those and plant out any spaces that have died off. And then this contraption here, I've got a shade cloth up over my cucumber trellis, and I've got some lettuce and a few different varieties of cucumbers under there. And the main reason I did this was because I have a pest, I don't know if it's a rabbit or rats or something, that's getting into some of my plants and eating them. So I put this over them to protect them a little bit. And then down here we've got some Brunswick cabbage. I've got 2 of those planted. I'm going to be planting some Chinese cabbage also over here. And then on this bed here, we've got our summer squash and some more onions here these were from overwintered, so they're starting to get some flower heads. But we've got the Costata Romanesco zucchini. So that's kind of a striped, kind of like the Cocozelle zucchini. So it's got all kinds of flowers that are just starting to bud out there. And then over here we've got the Goldini, which I grew last year. And it's got a few little baby zucchinis. I don't know if they're going to get pollinated or not, but we'll see. It's still pretty small. And then on the other end of this bed, I'm going to get my tomatoes in here, but since it's raining, I haven't planted those out yet. I've got some beans, some pole beans that I planted in here over the weekend. I don't see any coming up yet, but I am seeing some holes, which is not good. So that's probably a mole or a vole that's digging around in there, so I might lose some seeds from that. I think there's another hole over there, so that's not good. And then over here in the back, I've got some peppers. So these are the first peppers I planted out. I've got the Rocoto or Manzano peppers here. So this is the first year I've grown these. And that red Rocoto over there is looking like the best one. But they're all different varieties. The one here in the middle I actually got from my neighbor, and he couldn't tell me which variety it is, so we might have to have a little mystery there. And actually these circle beds here, I had planted some fig trees here in the fall, and they didn't survive the winter. So I pulled them out and decided to put peppers in that bed. And in this bed I have a few different things. I've got a purple tomatillo over there. And then this other purple tomatillo didn't do very well, but I planted it anyway. And I'm probably going to end up pulling it out. I have some green tomatillos started, so I might plant one of those in here instead. And then this is the Beni Hushi Mizuna. It's a purple Mizuna, and it looks like something is chomping on that too. That didn't used to be like that. And then we've got the Brussels sprouts. This is a Catskill variety. And then over here we've got a kaleette, which it's like a Brussels sprout, but it's like little balls of kale. It's kind of interesting. And then the only other bed I've got stuff planted in is back here, where I have my winter squash. And this is where I had some stuff get eaten down. So it was the delicata squash here. So I had one planted before and it was completely gone, eaten all the way to the ground, Luckily I had some extras and I planted that one a couple days ago, and I put some chicken wire over it, and so far they haven't gotten to it. And then also they ate one of my loofah starts, so I had plenty of, I still have 10 loofah starts that I'm actually selling. So I had some extras of that, so I replanted that one. And whatever it is, it hasn't touched this lettuce, so I just left it uncovered. And then the other squash I have is a butternut brulee. It's like a mini butternut squash. And that one was fine, but I decided to cover it anyway. And then the last one over here is a Burgess buttercup. And that one's doing a lot. That one's growing the best out of all the squashes. And that's pretty much all I have planted. I still have these perennial beds that have stuff growing. That's the lemon balm that's growing crazy right there. And I have about 6, I think, different varieties of mint in this bed. And I've also got this is the asparagus. So that's already, it's basically a fern looking plant once it gets tall. And I've got my blueberries over here. 10 different varieties of blueberries in there. Some rhubarb on the end. And then I've got the golden raspberries, which are just starting to flower. So you can see there's some flowers coming out here. So we'll have some berries here pretty soon. And then lastly is the herb bed. So I have 2 big sage plants, which I probably should get rid of one of them because I'd like to plant some other stuff in there. But this is one of them that's going to flower. And I have another one right here. And I think they're the same variety, so I'll probably get rid of this smaller one over here. And I also have a variegated sage. I think it's called pineapple sage. And then I've got a golden oregano. And this big thing here is valerian. And that probably could use a trim because it's getting pretty huge, but it's starting to put out some flowers there. And I've got some volunteer dill coming up pretty much in a lot of the beds here. And I think this is a perennial spinach that I planted in the fall, and it's just starting to come out. And then I've got some marjoram that I started from seed this year, and a little parsley here that's getting a little buried in a weed. And oh, here's the anise hyssop. So that one is getting kind of covered by the valerian too. So I'm going to trim that back so that other stuff has a chance to grow. Alright, and that covers the garden beds so far this year. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.